think people, because I've been a Christian for like 8 years or so. So I think still relatively recent enough where I can think back to my atheist days when I was very critical of all this stuff. So one of the arguments that I would have made, or what I would have thought of is, or even actually when I was a new Christian, is that's Old Testament God, right? That's like mean, wrathful, take out a whole city, mean God. And now we have like nice God. We have the New Testament God who's nice and loving and all that stuff. Same God. So how are we supposed to make sense of that?
Well, most people that say that, I mean, they intend well, but usually that comes from an idea in the New Testament, first of all, that's not actually, like when you actually look at it, Jesus talks more about, hell and judgment, the red letters, than anybody else really, right? So you see that Jesus talks about judgment, and you get to Revelation, for example, and it says everyone that's afraid during judgment, it says they hide in caves and say, save us from the wrath of the Lamb. Now, you know what I mean? Like, so that's the one side of the cross. But then you go to the Old Testament, you look at Leviticus, for example, and remember Aaron, the high priest in Exodus, offered a golden calf. I mean, it's the most scandalous moment, right? Here they are, Moses up getting on Mount Sinai, and Aaron brings them in the worship of a golden calf. Well, here's the high priest that God instills, and it's Aaron, that same guy, and the first offering he's to make was for himself, and it's a calf. So in Leviticus 9, he's supposed to take a bull calf for his own sin before he starts to deal with the people's sin. I mean, if you're Aaron, first of all, you blew it really bad. Second of all, God's using you to lead the people. I mean, this is a picture of grace and redemption. And here he is offering a calf, being like, how do you not get overwhelmed by the fact that you don't deserve the grace? You see grace throughout the Old Testament and the New, and just like you see God's wrath and judgment, it's there throughout the whole time. You see a full picture of God in both Testaments all the way through. You just got to, but most of us just aren't willing to hear that and read it. And when you do, it's amazing.
Give a little inspiration, like I should say it like this. Now that you've done like a year of studying Leviticus and going over it all, what's your big takeaway and encouragement for people to read it, dive into it?
Yeah, I think if you take your time in Leviticus and you structure the passage, you're gonna see the structure in 10 minutes. I mean, like in every passage you go through, it's very structured. It is not scary or hard. And once you see it, you'll be able to spot, what's the emphasis there. And once you can see the structure, it's the so what of the passage that leads you into the New Testament, and it becomes the color behind it. And so if Leviticus is seen in its light, all of a sudden the New Testament comes, it's the prequel, if you will, to everything you're going to see. And so I wouldn't be afraid of it. Now, when you get to Luke, for example, that's tricky because Christ hasn't died on the cross yet. He's still sort of talking to people under the Old Testament still, and there's a trickiness. It's not just, one-to-one. You have to do some work and nuance. Whereas Leviticus, you kind of get the problem right away, and you can see it. I mean, the structure is really plain. It's not playing a lot of subtlety. You know what I mean? So I think it's a great book for people not to be afraid of. And there's some, it's not a lot of commentaries, unfortunately, that I wish were really awesome. But you can always go to our sermons and check them out. They're online.
Barabbas wrote. Hey, Slater Crusaders, we are continuing our journey through every book of the Bible. Now, everyone's heard of Genesis and maybe know some things about Exodus, but Leviticus is always cast aside as like this weird, meaningless, like we're killing animals, tabernacle, what are all these things that have no relevancy to me today, right? It was written 3,000 years ago, and it is incredibly relevant to today. And it will enlighten your study of the New Testament as well. We have some amazing guests. We go deep, break it all down. The book of Leviticus, you can watch it now. Download the First TV app for free.